We have with us Jamal Nasir Baloch, the most controversial region right now in SAARC, one of the most. We have controversies, but this one takes the cake, right? And we also have a very controversial political party. It's called the Baloch Free Movement. Jamal, welcome to the session. Can you hear me? Jamal, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So Jamal, we have you here now. And, everyone has been, see, a common man does not understand beyond what media reports. And that was the whole idea of reaching out to you and understanding and making it simple, like we discussed in our second session with, if you followed the conversation, it was all about creating complex problems, identifying the complexity in it and making it simple. So we want to take the controversy out of Balochistan and the Free Balochistan movement and understand what is it all about, right? So my first question to you is that, Balochistan is having the most strategic location between Central Asia,
Soumya,
South Asia.
मैं तेरे को एक link भेजती हूँ, login
I I can't hear you properly. I think there's a
Participants,
background
please go on
noise.
mute. Nishtha, you have to go on mute, please. Sorry. So I was saying that you are at a very strategic link between Central Asia, Middle East, and South Asia. Being at such a prosperous and strategic location, still Balochistan has not seen a day of peace, a day of prosperity. Why do you think the people of Balochistan chose bloodshed and ignored peace of mind for such a long time? Why?
Thanks for inviting me, Rachna. You're asking the question on Balochistan, but a lot of people were talking on happiness. So I would like to quote Thomas Jefferson. He said, "All men are created equal and have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness."
Yes.
So there cannot be happiness without liberty. And the problem of Balochistan is the problem of colonization. Yes, Balochistan is located in a very strategic location, which links Iranian plateau, Central Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. But most of the, I think, Indian people or the journalists, they know a lot of about Balochistan. I may disagree with the framing of your question as well, because the bloodshed was not started by any Baloch people or by the politician of the Balochistan. What we are doing is following the path of other peoples like Gandhi, Nehru, and George Washington, and many people who came before us for the liberation of their people. The problem of Balochistan is that the Balochistan was an independent country. It was occupied by force, and there cannot be conflict resolution until the Pakistani Muslim Sunni Punjabi elite recognized that Baloch are equal and Baloch were a nation. They were free, and then we can sit together and resolve the problems. Like all nations, what happened in Ireland when they were fighting against the British Empire? What happened in India? The British ultimately left India and recognized that they are equal people. Before, I think it is a very famous quote of Churchill that he said before the independence of India that they cannot rule themselves. So, in the mind of a colonizer, they always think that they are better than the other people who are being ruled. And this is the problem. In simple word, the problem of Balochistan is that we are not being recognized as a nation. We were forcefully occupied by a country, by a state, which was, I would say that which was at that time was an extension of the British Empire. They divided India for strategic reasons. And then the Punjabi Sunni army occupied Balochistan. And that's the whole reason why there's bloodshed, not just in Balochistan, in Kashmir, in Afghanistan. That's why there was the worst genocide in Bangladesh after World War II. But not a single Pakistani general who was involved in that massacre was brought to justice. Nazi journals, they were convicted, they were given death sentences. What about Pakistan? Pakistani journals. So I believe the it is not related just to Balochistan. When the British were leaving our region, the colonizers um, divided the India against the consent of the Indian people. They made a state in the name of Islam, and that's the whole reason why Bengalis were facing problems, why Indians are facing problems like what they did in Mumbai and what they're doing in other
Stick
places.
to Balochistan right now,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
So
So
I've
yeah,
understood, I've understood. So I've understood, okay, from your perspective, I understood the problem. Now,
yeah,
let's talk about solutions. So, for example, you just said World War II, right? So, after World War II, United Nations was created. It was created
yeah,
to stop wars, right?
yeah.
Now, how many times in reality you think has United Nations really tried to help in some sort of peace treaty with all the stakeholders involved? And if they did that, if they didn't do that, uh, like, did you reach out to them? Did you reach out to any other international institution? What has been the sentiment about that? What has been their action?
Rachna, you are talking about the role of the United Nations in the international law post 1945 uh, invasions.
That is
Yeah,
correct.
post 1945 invasion, when they wrote the Charter of the United Nations after World War II,
Correct.
invading a country by force or occupying nation by force was illegal according to international law post 1945. Before 1945,
Correct.
because the European empires, they occupied land and they
That's
they
why they
they,
were,
they
it was
yeah,
illegal, and
yeah,
that's why they were
yeah,
assassins
yeah. So
time
so
to
when when the United Nations was created, the goal was to avoid more wars after World War II. Pakistan became a member, if I'm not wrong, in September 1947. And
right.
after, I think, less than 6 months, in March 1948, they invaded Balochistan, which was a clear violation of United Nations Charter 2, Sub-Article 4. That if you are a member of the United Nations, you cannot invade a country, you cannot use force. So after creation of the Pakistan and the United Nations, the Balochistan was one of the first cases of occupation, but United Nations did nothing. And I've been in Geneva, I've been in United Nations, I attended their conferences, and what I think that United Nations is the most useless institution in the world. It is
100% agreement.
yes, it is a private club of the states. They have been failed in every genocide, in every case, in Bangladesh, in Rwanda, in other places, in Syria. Now you can see the situation of the Syria, in Afghanistan as well. And then now they are giving a statement to justify the regime of the Taliban and the Afghan genocide. So I think the United Nations is not some kind of institution which can solve the problem. This is just a private club of the states, and the burden lies on independent states like Western powers, Germany, France, UK, and America and India as well, Russia, or maybe China at some point. So these states, and if they want to do something, they can do something. If they don't want to do something, United Nations is just a talking club, nothing more. And that's the whole reason why, despite having such big institution and billions of dollars of fund, and these kind of institutions are not helping people on the ground. They have failed. That's why we have war in Syria. We have conflict in Afghanistan. There was genocide in Bangladesh, or there is genocide in Balochistan, because these institutions have failed. And I don't think that the United Nations will do anything in the future as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So moving on, I want to ask you is going back to the Bangladeshi war, right? So when the Bangladeshi War of Independence led to its breaking away from Pakistan in 1971, is that when Balochistan and the people of Balochistan thought that their goal of achieving freedom or independence will also be met, and they were supported by India and Afghanistan at that moment, which is not really the case right now. But having said that, we've also seen things like the the American military, which could not win the war, right? Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, etc., etc. Now, why do you think now all of this is past? This last 70, 75 years, we've seen that this approach is not leading us anywhere. So young people like you and young leaders like you who are pretty much a part of this change, and you said that you have represented Balochistan at UN as well. That's really big. So your voice is credible. Now, are you thinking out of the box to settle your differences with the stakeholders, whether that is Afghanistan or Pakistan or somebody else, XYZ? I'm not naming. I'm just saying, what are you doing for dispute resolution, conflict management?
Yes, I would like to correct some of the things you said in your question. The Bangladesh, the Bengali people, because Bangladesh was also divided by the British Empire, like the Bengal province, Hindu and Muslim majorities. So Bengalis, also with the Punjabis, Sunni Punjabis, Bengalis were the ones who divided India, and they were used by the British Empire. It is a fact that Bengali leaders were also they struggled for Pakistan, but then after 30 years or 29 years, they realized that they were wrong. They were wrong, and that this is not something they wanted. That's why they liberated their country. And at that time, in 1971, when the Bengalis were struggling for freedom, before 1971, the Baloch were fighting. They started resistance in 1948. So Baloch were not inspired by the Bengalis at all. They had their freedom movement during the British time. And when Pakistan occupied our country, we also resisted the Pakistani occupation. Now I will come to the support. As you said, the support by Afghanistan and India. There was no support by India at all. Any support to the Baloch liberation movement in 1979. We have historical relations with Afghanistan. When British Empire marching toward Afghanistan, the Afghan king then requested the Baloch to resist, and at that time many battles occurred during the Afghan first and second Afghan wars. The Baloch tribes resisted the British Empire for the independence of Afghanistan. So we got a very deep and historical relationship. That's why in 1971, when Pakistani army was killing Baloch people, a lot of Baloch went to Afghanistan, and Afghanistan opened a store for Baloch refugees. So I would disagree with your with the question that there was any support to Afghanistan or India for the liberation of Baloch. No, there was.
So, see, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That the no support.
Yes, there was no support.
Means, I don't know whether do you support always something that's good, or you try and say, okay, I'm going to take a step back because I think it's not good for them in long term. Perhaps that's something that people saw, and that's really the reality. Look at the natural resources. I think it could be one of the richest region in SAARC, right? But still people are bleeding. So perhaps no support because of that. And that's why I'm saying why. Well, that's my next question to you. See, we've evolved to a new institution. It's called politics. It's called governance. But why you have not, like, you're in exile. Exile means you are almost it's like arrested in time, right? There is no movement, you can't do much. Thanks to internet, you're still connecting with people. People like us want to know what's happening. Instead of exile, why not think of peace treaties? Why not think of some kind of co-management, some kind of something? I'm just saying innovation. Think, fail, and something will come out of it. Rather than with this age-old tradition of azadi, freedom, all of that, it's not taking anywhere.
No, you are asking this question because you do not.
See, this could be a very, with due respect. So I'm not disregarding your movement.
No.
I'm not disregarding your history.
Yeah.
But I am just trying to look at the future, 10 years down the line, and say, I don't see this going there. Can you think of something else, Jamal? That's my question.
Yes, I would say, and I would disagree with you. I'm not going into the history. I'm going to the ground realities now. What is happening in Balochistan? So there are people in Balochistan who believe in the Pakistani Federation from Balochistan. There are many political parties, and they themselves are always saying they have been doing parliamentary politics since 1971. There are many old parties, and they are part of the Pakistan government always, but they have achieved nothing. That's the reason why people like me believe that there's no other way but the freedom of Balochistan. Now you are saying that why I'm in exile? Why would I live in London and will not visit Balochistan? Why? Because the colonization of Balochistan is worse than the colonization of India. Nehru, Gandhi, Chandra Bose, they were able to live in their own country and demand freedom. But you can't do it in Balochistan. Many people do not understand the nature of colonization in Balochistan. Let me give you an example. The newspapers cannot publish articles and statements which are pro-independence, related to pro-independence party, or somehow say that there's some kind of human rights violation or colonization or something which the Pakistan military elite disagree with. So this is the state of media. There are thousands of people are missing, more than 20,000 people, some human rights organizations say. Why? Because these people who are missing, and many of these people have been killed and dumped by the Pakistan army. These people are not those people who are related.
That's exactly what happens in violent games. It's violence.
Yes, yes. So why? Because I can't.
You see, Jamal, we can give it names of freedom struggle, political violence, etc. It's violence. The end of it's violence. It's a disease. Violence is a mental disease. Science has proved it. You can pass it on to your children. It goes in your genes. So what we're saying is, what's inherently the problem that was created by the external environment at the Balochistan is now also getting internally ingrained in the human beings there. So that's why I'm saying we need to think differently. Think differently, please. And another question, and I think we will open this to participants later, but I'm also saying that the underlying vision of these, so there are a lot of voices of Balochistan, right? I chose you because I thought yours was the most credible one. It was very neutral. I've read your articles before. I reached out to you and said, Jamal, could we hear you, please? Because I think somewhere you like to take a step back. You actually go back and think again, and that's one important quality of a leader of Balochistan, and what Balochistan needs right now. So the people is the voice of the politicians. Is that the voice of the people? Has someone asked them what is it that the people of Balochistan want? How do they sort out their own leadership?
The problem, like it is, we are not mad people. The independence and the independence, it is entirely logical. The Baloch leadership did try, and there are many segments within Balochistan who think that we will stay within Pakistani Federation and we will achieve something. But people are not supporting them. Like the current Chief Minister of Balochistan, you know how many votes he got in the election, how he was elected? He got less than 600 votes, and he is the Chief Minister of Balochistan. And why he got less than 600? It is like, I'm not making it up. You can search it in Google. It was reported by Pakistani media. Okay, so why a person is leading the government of Balochistan who got 600 votes? Why? the people did not participate in those elections? Why the people are always being picked up and dumped? You are talking about the conflict resolution. You're saying that maybe there's a way to resolve the conflict. Yes, it must, because yeah, there must be some kind of conflict resolution, but you will resolve the problem when you will recognize the problem. Pakistani state is not recognize the problem. The Pakistani state, we are Pakistani. Pakistani is the nation. What does Pakistani mean? Pakistan has no meaning whatsoever. They are not recognizing that there is a nation, Baloch nation, which is a very historical nation. They were independent, and they had their own state. They are not recognizing the ground realities. They are imposing their identity on us. They are imposing their political will on us, and that's the whole reason why when there is colonization, because the problem of Balochistan is not a power politic, as some people argue in many countries. It is the problem of colonized and colonizer. If I am because I will go with, if I will compare it with India, you will say talk on Balochistan, but in each country, there cannot be any political solution until you recognize that these people are equal. These people have the same rights as the Sunni Punjabis. Then you will talk about the solutions. This has happened in Ireland, in Scotland, in Catalonia, other places, in the Spain Basque region, that these people then in Europe recognize that yes, these are unique nations, and we recognize their rights to self-determination or right to national liberation. And then they found out the solution.
Picking up from national liberation and saying that 600 people only voted for the current government. What is
chief minister? Who's the guy who was chief minister?
The rest of those who did not? What is the life of a young Baloch person? Do they have freedom of expression? Are they like living a life? Because see, I'm saying that because what we see when it comes to Balochistan, you Google it, you will see people dress very differently, behave very differently compared to what I see as a Baloch leader right now in front of me. Why is there so much of difference? Are they also on like social media, or do they enjoy life? Do they go out? What is the life of a person in Balochistan?
No, when you are saying difference, what do you mean by difference? Economic difference, political difference, and the difference in ideas? What do you mean by difference?
Well, we know that there's economic difference, because any area, any region that has violence, bloodshed, and there is no economics there, right? There is no economics there, right? Political, I am not interested, because it's all right, because every day media reports a politician from there, but no one reports a normal person. I'm talking about a young 18-year-old. I'm talking about a young 30-year-old or mid-career. What is their life? Do they have freedom of expression? If you're saying they're not participating in elections, they're not voting, and you're talking about national liberation, is it to do something with their freedom? Are they being curbed? In a way, you are saying we are being forced the nationalistic agenda of this and that. What is being forced on you is my question. What is difference between those people? So you Google it yourself, and you see the people with the guns. Look at their attires. They've possibly not even gone to a grooming salon for the longest time. Look, this question is, I know it's a very basic question, but we are talking about human beings. We are talking about people right now. And why is there so much difference? When I see a very well-groomed politician who's sitting on Zoom calls and giving the gyan, giving the knowledge to the world about Balochistan, what about his own people?
No, you're talking about the grooming. There's a tension among them. Now, why I'm laughing, because
it's a question.
Why I'm laughing on the grooming thing.
It's a question.
Listen.
My people on the ground not only think but also look different than what I am. Then there is
let me speak.
If I, as a leader, I have gone ahead, I have accepted how people are evolving in their thought process, in the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they eat, but my people on ground have not evolved. So I am not the leader then, because there is no connection. If you're talking about Mahatma Gandhi, then India was a very poor nation. They didn't have food. They didn't have clothes. They were like really slaves. Then Mahatma Gandhi left everything, right? And then he wore like a dhoti, like we call it, that white, khadi. And then he gave up on food and he lived in a village. He was the leader. He connected with the masses of the country and he created a movement. Who in Balochistan is like that? Who is the leader? Who you think people connect with? Because I see a lot of difference.
You're not letting me speak. That's the whole point. You're not letting me speak.
Evolution gap between people.
No. Let me talk about, because what I think you are inspired by colonial Pakistan's colonial media. The problem is,
I see that when I Google.
Rachna, Google is not everything. In 75% of Balochistan, there's no electricity. In 75% of Balochistan, there's no electricity. You cannot rely on Google and some Twitter accounts to know the reality of Balochistan.
Why is there no electricity in 75% Balochistan?
Listen to me.
Yes, please.
Why I was laughing at the grooming thing, because understand the mentality of the freedom fighters. Most of them are they like to grow their hairs. You don't know it. That's why, because they can have RPG and Kalashnikov, but they don't have the trimming machine.
Yeah.
They don't have a trimming machine, but they can have Russian Kalashnikov. So it is not a logical question. That's why I was laughing. If you are talking about the differences between,
is a basic thing that we need to correct, my friend.
Yes. What, the grooming thing or something else?
It's important. Very important. There are beards in America. There are beards in Middle East. There are beards in. If you're talking about beard, you think it's not objective. It is a very objective conversation. It talks about the thought process. It talks about the difference between the thought process between the leader, a political leader who just wants to rule these people, rather than a free Balochistan movement. That's what I'm saying. Are you connected to my question?
Listen, Rachna. That's the reason why I told you that you do not understand the ground realities, and that's good thing you invited me. Then please let me speak. Please let me speak.
Talk to the world.
Please let me speak. Then please let me speak. You discuss. I would say for my party, my Free Balochistan movement is led by Herbiar Mari. Okay, maybe you did search about him, and he appeared in Indian media as well. He belongs to one of the richest areas within Balochistan, where is coal, fuel, gas, and other things. He could have been one of the richest men in Balochistan. He could have been a federal minister or a chief minister in Balochistan. He got one of the most armed and organized tribes in entire Balochistan. That there are many tribes in central Balochistan, and they are like living a very organized tribal life. The Buktis, the Maris, and other things. But he chose to speak for the freedom of Balochistan. He left Balochistan, and he's living an ordinary life. I would challenge you that many Indians are living a much better life in this country, in UK, than the Baloch leaders and the Baloch activists. So when you say it is a pursuit of politics or pursuit of power through the independence movement, no, you can't do it, because it is not logical. Once I was in Chatham House, a member of Chatham House. There was a Pakistani intellectual, I think Ahmad Rashid, and when I asked about Balochistan, I was approached in that particular room by Pakistani embassy officials. They gave me a card. They said, if you need anything, please come to us. If I want something, some material things or some power, anyone can do such kind of deal. Anyone, because people are doing this in Balochistan. Why I'm living in London like a life of exile, and I cannot see my family, my relatives, my country where I was born? Not because it is power politics, because we want freedom of Balochistan. We want a better life for our people, for their and their future. You were asking me a question about what we can offer. So I'll come to that. I'm coming to that particular thing. We designed a document. You can search it, you can Google it. I think we launched in 2014 or 16. It's called Balochistan Liberation Charter. In that particular document, there are many sections on economy, politics, human rights, women's rights, and other things. And we told the Baloch nation, it was a very public thing. and we told our people, look, this is our plan. When the Balochistan will be liberated, within 24 months, there will be elections. In 24 months, the election commission and the institution of states will be formed and let the people decide their own future. We are not Mao or Lenin or some Middle Eastern dictator who think that we will take the power by armed struggle or political struggle, and then we will be the next Sunni Punjabis of Balochistan. No. So that's the reason why I was saying that there's a difference between colonization and a political conflict. In political conflict, there's civil war, for parliamentary seats and election and other things. And when there is colonization, the people who are pursuing the politics, the independence politics, most of these people are well-off people who had enough money to go to university, who had enough money to go to America, to London, other places, and then decided logically that if we can do something better for people, then it is to pursue for their independence. And then under conflict resolution, I'm a student of constitutional law. It's a very complicated debate. I can debate it on that particular thing as well. But in every conflict resolution, both parties should sit on table. Both parties should talk that, yes, there are real problems. And this is what happened in Scotland. This is what happening in Ireland, other places.
Jamal, that is the request. That is exactly the request Puro Innovations has for you, or not only in terms of the questions that I'm asking you, but also the whole idea of reaching out to you is because when you are saying that it's complex and you can debate, we don't want to debate. We want to find solutions, because there are numerous debates going on. There are also paid debates, unpaid debates. There's television. Come to my country and see debate every evening on prime time debating. But debates don't lead to any solutions, right? Because there is no in debates. I don't think people leave the ego behind. The idea is to win, right? Here we want the people to win. And at least the peace to win, because like you're saying, 20,000 people not there, Human Rights Commission, etc., etc. But that's a given. Violence, that is exactly what is happening, and that's why I have started Puro Innovations, because I'm not a human rights activist. I'm not an activist in any way, but my heart bleeds when I see every evening there's a family which is mourning in this region for one person. There is a mourning in this region every night, and I don't know how many. Nobody has done research. I don't know how many houses per night cry for somebody, and that's not good, because it changes the whole environment of the particular region. It changes the whole environment. It's another step in that direction. It's not like a step back. So all of these the fight moments and all of that, I think that's what I'm saying, Jamal. We have to think differently. If not freedom, what else could have that will give you similar freedom that you're seeking, which is about, if you're seeking the freedom in values, in freedom of expression, if it is anything that is not to do with rule, to do with sitting on the chair, then what are those values? What are those initiatives? What are those plans that we can achieve, you can achieve differently? That's what I'm trying to get to. And what I'm saying is that your plan, okay, so we get the freedom. I don't know if you will. I don't think so. You get the freedom. 24 months, we do the election, another 2 years. And then we will start all of that another 5 years. If you begin now, let's say, rather than keep on doing what you're doing, but if you add on to what you're doing, an entrepreneurial movement, and you, like you said, your own leader of the party is the richest guy who owns a couple of things, so he can actually start something and give jobs to those people. And then when the economics change, environment changes, I think a lot of things will change. This is just an idea.
You do not understand. Unfortunately, you do not understand. You are not. You are. That's why I'm saying it, that the entire nature of colonization is you have to understand that what is going on the ground and what is the nature of Balochistan and Pakistan, then you are saying that why he can't create jobs, he own, let me finish, own a lot of things. I said he's one of the richest, he could have been one of the richest men in Balochistan if he had compromised. Because in colonization,
That anybody can. If I compromise today, I can be rich. Anybody can become rich if they compromise.
No, you can't. No, you can't. If an ordinary Baloch cannot be rich if he go to and compromise. If you travel basis, no. It is wrong. Not everyone can be rich by compromising. Those people who have capabilities as a leader to liberate a nation, then the enemy state or the occupier state can pursue those particular leaders. Okay, come, we will give you a very good deal, blah, blah, blah ministry, and these enough dollars and money. Don't talk about freedom. Just let us do our things. Let China loot the Balochistan, loot our gold and mineral resources. Let the Punjabi army loot our resources. That's fine. You just sit and, do your own things. So that's the reason why I can't do it. I know my value in Balochistan. If I will go, listen to me. I have no enough tribal roots because my tribe is not organized than Mr. Murray's tribe. That's the reason my value is different in the eyes of Pakistan than his value. It's a basic fact. Because Chandra Bose, Netaji Chandra Bose, was capable of doing all these things. He was not a poor Indian farmer. He was elite. He was from elite family. And he had money, he had capabilities, and then he went into Europe and he started an army, and you know this. So what I'm saying that it is not, everything is not black and white, that you will compromise and then you will sit. You have to understand the nature of the colonization. You are saying about the economic growth. India was one of the richest country in the world. The 25%, this is what Shashi Tharoor, I think, wrote in his book, 25% of global GDP. And when they looted you, when they destroyed you, you are one of the poorest country in the region. And now again,
we are looking ahead.
Why you are looking ahead? Why you are sitting here and talking to me about the peace? Because thanks to your political leaders, you are free. You are not a colonized nation.
Correct.
And this is what we want for our people. We don't want to.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Within colonization, you can't have a free economy.
As a region, we should come together and we should make sure this region is free of any such leaders.
It cannot be free. It cannot be free like this. It cannot be free.
And it will take over if there is no harmony within each other. Right?
No, there won't be any harmony. There won't be any harmony until.
If you give up like leaders, that on the discussion itself.
No, there won't be harmony because I'm a realist. I believe in realism. I'm not idealist. I believe in Machiavelli and Thomas Hobbes and realist philosophers. I read the history. I know there will be another war with China or maybe other countries. There won't be peace forever in this world.
But no war anymore. Look at the Steven Pinker's latest research. It said the data and the statistics are saying the violence has declined, and it is the last round of violence. We should
violence has declined because of the state warfare.
Listen to Steven Pinker.
No. The nature of war has changed. The nature of war
ever since the inception of mankind till now.
That's why always. This is what I believe.
That's why I'm going to
what I'm saying is that I'm not talking about the world. I'm just talking about the region. Why the Balochistan problem? Listen, we cannot resolve the issue of Balochistan until there is conscious and conviction in the mind of global leaders or state, many Western or Indian subcontinent states who think that something wrong is happening. You are from India. Your prime minister in 2017 said something about Balochistan on the Red Fort. It was just a political tactic. Because of his speech, Because of his speech, hundreds of military operations were conducted by Pakistan Army and thousands of people were disappeared. Why? They said and they argued, look, India is supporting them, we will kill them and we will, we will neutralize the Baloch liberation movement. Why?
It's a separate topic. We will
No,
have
no, no,
another.
no, 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 no. Let me talk because you're talking on Baloch Twitter. Let me talk on our neighbors as well because of I'm not talking about Indian internal politics. It is related to Balochistan. The reckless speech, if they did not want to support the Baloch nation, it was just a reaction, tit for tat, because of the Kashmir thing. And because of that particular reckless action, thousands of Baloch were killed and dumped. And Bangladesh got freedom not because the Bengalis were so organized, because of Indian intervention. It's a political fact. Everyone
Okay.
knows.
Okay.
So every genocide, now listen to me, every genocide was stopped because of intervention in Kosovo, Bosnia, Rwanda, Nazi Germany. They were conducting not a single genocide. Even when the Kurdish were attacked in Halabja, then the American went in like 90s in the first Gulf War. So every intervention, every human life was saved because of a superior power when they intervened to save the lives of the people. And you're saying it won't happen
Jamal,
until they people realize.
For the sake of the session and the political peace, important tool in the world peace process, politics. Let's come back from realism to an idealistic state. And in that idealistic state, my question is that we are going to talk about Pakistan since you're so passionate about it. I'm saying that instead of fixing their own territory, they always have interest outside, and I say that because
always.
Yeah, because the military generals of the Pakistan said that they debated that if Pakistan succeeds in weakening the Baloch movement, not only they'll be able to take control of Afghanistan through their proxies, but they'll also be able to tackle the Kashmir issue, right? So my thing, what is the underlying vision? What is the underlying thought? Why do they do this? They have no money in their bank reserves. They're bankrupt. They are having so many disputes within. Instead of solving that, why they like to exaggerate things and put them out of context for everyone and making the entire region's life miserable and making sure that instead of being a powerhouse of South Asia and SAARC leading the world, this way, just because one of our person is not listening, it's like a community, 7 people, family, 8. One person is not listening, it's gone for dogs. It will be doomed. How do you, if I had to tell you that, how do you, not like one is this political position that you have, the other is a human position that you have, right? You're a human to begin with, first and foremost, and what you're seeing is not good. What is your take on that?
Listen, in order to understand the behavior of a state, particular state, you have to go back and find out how it was formed. Pakistan was formed because of two-nation theory. And what is two-nation theory? Two-nation theory, in simple word, today we call it political Islam. What they wrote in that particular document, we are different nation entirely because we have a different religion. So religion constitute a nationality in two-nation theory. And this is what political Islam is. They said we are not Arabs, we are not Baloch, we are not Bengali or Marathi or anything else. We are one nation, we are Muslim. And that's the whole idea of political Islam. That's the whole idea of Al-Qaeda and at some point Taliban. And that's the idea of ISIS. That's why when they occupied a large chunk of Syria and Iraq, they called it the Islamic State. So this is the ideology of political Islam, and in Indian subcontinent, it came from that particular two-nation theory. Now, two-nation theory means Punjabi, Sindhi, Baloch, Pakhtuns, Gilgiti, Kashmiri, all of these people are not separate nations with unique identities. They are Muslim and we are one nation and we have to go in the path of Islam. That's the whole reason why Pakistan is always pursuing the idea of political Islam because this is the way they can exist. Take out the political Islam from Pakistan, the Punjabis, the Sindhis, the Pashtun, the Baloch, and all nationalities will say, "Oh yeah, come on, um, we are separate nations. All of are equal. Then why don't we choose our own future? There will be democracy. Like you have conflict with India. The Pakistanis have conflict with India. Why? They say they are Hindus, they are Kafirs, they don't want to destroy Islam. Take out Islam from that, then the people, even the Sunni Punjabis will start asking questions. Okay, we got neighbors in India, they are Punjabis as well. Why don't we have good relations with them? The Baloch will start asking questions. We are a nation divided between Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Why we are not united as a nation in a state? The Sindhis will start asking the question. We are the Sindhus, the Hindus got their name from Sindhu. Why don't we have good relations with India? And why don't we promote our own culture, our own civilization? Because, and that's the whole reason of Pakistan's policies since 1947. Pakistan is a parasite which was created by the British Empire. And that's the reason why I told you have to understand the whole thing in order to understand why there are no solutions, why there won't be any solution until
we all know the problem.
There won't be any solution.
I think
why would Punjabi elite Pakistan army?
We need to go to the next.
Give me one reason. Give me one reason.
Everybody
Then I will ask you. I will ask you one question.
Pakistan was created.
I will ask you one question.
Everybody knows what.
No, I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about Kashmir.
What happened in
I'm not talking about those things which your Indian media discussing day and night.
Solution.
Listen. Why would just give me the answer of this question? Why should the Pakistan army or the Punjabi military should bring a resolution to Balochistan conflict or bring resolution to the other problems or bring democracy to those parts which we think are Pakistan, like Balochistan was fully occupied, same Pashtunistan. Yeah. Why?
For the sake of the people, for the sake of humanity. Because what is happening right now in this region, I think humanity is gone down the docks. Like I said, every day there is someone dying. There's a family mourning every night. And for those people's sake, because all of us are what we are, whether we are India, whether we are Afghanistan or Pakistan or Balochistan or Nepal or Bhutan, is because we have people. We are ruling the people. But the people here are absolutely unhappy, not peaceful, poor. There's poverty, there's hunger, there's disease in this region. And there's also violence which is taken over, So we know this. We need to find solution, period. That's it. So we've already, 24...
just last comment. Last comment. Unfortunately, Pakistani military is not humanist like you, unfortunately.
We will make them do it by talking.
Good luck with that. Yes.
All the political leaders of this region need to possibly sit with them and talk to them. That's all. Yeah. What happens? Like, this is how it happens, right? I understand, there are more, see, when we talk about history, there's vengeance, there's ego, there's also pride to what people have done in terms of, when you're a leader, when you die for your nation, there's a different kind of sentiment that it has. But at some point, we have to really let that behind us and march forward. And like I said, see, today is we are just having a discussion. I can't think of the possible best solution that will happen, but I'm sure with these discussions, deliberations, involving more stakeholders, more people into these conversations, I hope something will come out of it. So my last question to you, Jamal, before I end the session is, we are Furo Innovations. What innovative ideas do you have for us so we can, increase our impact in the region? And also, what is your advice to the world leaders today? These are my two questions.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachna. First of all, thanks for this beautiful seminar. And I found out about you when you sent me a message, and then I did a research and found your website, and you had quite a few, I think, conferences before COVID-19. What I would say, because I'm a student of politics and constitutional law, and what I realized during my time in university, that in our region there's a problem of methodology. There's a problem of methodology, meaning the people who are trying to find solutions of political problems, they are applying the methodology of Western philosophers of academic people. So I would even like you are asking me a question about Pakistan and this, in the framing of question, in your consciousness, your understanding, you are recognizing that particular entity as a very normal state, very quiet normal state like other countries, which is not the case. But when we will change the methodology, the methods of researching or finding a particular question or finding the solution, then we would able to, I think, to contribute at least to in the understanding of the real problems of the region. And unfortunately, every research which has been done on Balochistan by the West, by the Indians or the West, or even by the Pakistani, the left people, they did some research. I think it is on it is Western centric. The methodology, the things they copy paste the methodology from West philosophies and try to apply it on our region, and our region is quite different from the West. Just to give, I will take your time. Just will give you a small comparison. The nationalist movement in Europe, in Scotland, in Catalonia, and other places, they're entirely based on materialism, on economics. The whole argument of the Scottish National Party is when we will get freedom, we will be economically well off from England. But when you will come to Balochistan and go to Kurdistan and other places in the east, where there is a struggle for freedom, the argument is not economical. The argument is cultural. It is the argument is identity based. It is historical based. So this is a huge difference. And when you are applying the methodology of nationalism studies of Scotland and Catalonia on Balochistan, then you will ask those questions. Okay, maybe you are fighting for a power. Maybe you want some more money. Maybe you want to gain something from that particular thing, from a struggle. That's the reason why we have to change the method of finding solution and looking those problems.
Very interesting. And you know what, Jamal? This is the win of the session today, because this is what I possibly we've joined the third dot to it. So in the beginning, when you were not there, because I know it's 3-4 a.m. for you in UK, they said, why Furo Innovations? What do we want to do? And I said that we want to bring leaders, philosophies, and organizations together who can advise on peace building treaties, conflict resolution based on research. And then Chaya ma'am also added to the thing that we need to also take delegations within the region and see what were the problems, how they were resolved. Small problems, because small problems can become big then, right? So how do you resolve them? And then we went to another part, speaker, Kinga, where this is exactly what he's doing in Institute of Happiness, by groundbreaking research on new methodology towards gross happiness index and applying that to the constitution, to the laws, etc., to make sure it becomes simple. And that's what I want to do. That, okay, we already have the Institute of Peace, which is led by him, and I'll be very happy to collaborate with him and work on the Institute of Peace bit and do research on these conflict infested or whatever, regions where then we can find the shared values. We have the shared genetics also to some extent, and find a new methodology and work towards peace. And that's what I keep saying, that we don't have a framework, we don't have an institution in this region. We lack it big time. There's nobody
Yeah.
who's hand holding via methodology, via research, via what do the people of this region really want. And with the demographic dividend, how SAARC can now be the next superpower or next superhouse within the superpowers, right? So that was the whole idea, and I think that is what has come through your and my discussion. And because to get to somewhere, you will have discussion, you will have argument,
Yes,
you will
course.
agreement.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is, how do we still coexist as human beings and respecting each other's, because it's not mandated what I think today is going to remain so, and what you think today is going to remain so also, because we will evolve with time. And that's the whole idea of evolving with time and with the content, as we keep talking about political peace with 4 innovations. So you did not answer, before you say bye to us, the advice to the world leaders and to the leaders of the region specifically. If you had to give one today, what would that be?
Stop the policy of appeasement and have some conviction.
Have some conviction. But conviction, conviction again leads to lot of, but I can say that you have a positive conviction. Why don't you have a conviction about peace? Be very
the conviction. Look, the leaders, because I'll just give you an example. The decolonization of this region, of India and other places, of Africa and other places, not happened because the colonizer were humanist. No, it happened because the Americans brought the Atlantic Charter. That in that particular Atlantic Charter, Americans recognized and forced the European power, we are going to help you against the Germany, but you will leave your colonies and you will give them the right to self-determination. And if you know the political issue, then you can find the solution. Unfortunately, why I said conviction, unfortunately now, there are a lot of problems. It is not just the problem of liberation. We got the problem of climate change. We got the problem of changing environment, and Balochistan will be affected by the climate change. And the climate change is already affecting our region because there's less water in Balochistan comparing to Indian subcontinent and Afghanistan.
The war.
Yeah. So if the leaders will have some kind of a vision or conviction that yes, if we can't create new states, at least we will pressurize the oppressors or the colonizer to give them equal rights at some extent. It's depend on the state, on the leaders. But I cannot see such thing in any leader in the West or in India. They don't have conviction. They do what it is, what they say, the reactionary politics. Something happened, then they react. Something happened, then they react. They don't have the vision to solve the problems of the region regarding climate, regarding Balochistan, regarding Afghanistan, regarding other places, Kurdistan, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. So they must have conviction first. And then they must leave the policy of appeasement. Why I'm saying policy of appeasement? Because if someone is killing people, you will not make them accountable and appease them, they will be emboldened and do it again. And that's the problem. That's the human psyche. You are not punishing them. That's the reason why we see a lot of problem in our region, because there was no policy of appeasement when there was genocide in Europe. There was no policy of appeasement during World War II. But here is policy of appeasement regarding Pakistan, regarding Syria, regarding Iraq, regarding Islamic fundamentalist organization and other dictators and other countries. So they must abandon the policy of appeasement, and they must have some conviction or visions to solve this problem. Then I think there will be change.
Very intelligent session. Jamal, you are very intelligent, and I know that, and I'm very hopeful. I know I said it, but I'm very hopeful that you will create change in Balochistan, and we will be in touch with you if we need further help in terms of any research or anything else.